Is God just or merciful? Now, most of Christianity has reached the conclusion that he's both. And while I understand the logic of that, being that you can't have mercy without justice, if we're being really truly honest with ourselves, that means that God is dealing out punishment in order to forgive it. And that's, well, psychotic. So today, I'm going to postulate that while you can experience God as both just and merciful, he is not both, but actually neither. I am not a holy man. I am not a righteous man. And I do not aspire to become one. I desire to speak the truth and to give you no other reason to believe me, so that my words may be judged upon their merit alone. Welcome to Come Look and Live. So let's dim the lights, and I hope you enjoy watching this as much as I enjoyed making it. Can mercy rob justice? No, it can't. We know that from Scripture. We know that it can't. But nonetheless, there does seem to be this conflict. And it's something that's been brought up a lot. A lot of people who are coming to know God sort of begin to struggle with. So I'd like to shed some light on it a little bit. And to do that, let's start with the nature of reality. So Adam and Eve, right? They're living in the garden. They're in the state of innocence and love. And that's actually the natural order of things. That's the way the universe is designed. It's the nature of life itself. But then they took of the fruit. Now, I want to give you a metaphor to sort of understand what happened when they took of the fruit. And I want you to think of the fruit as like a pair of like tinted sunglasses, okay? Let's say they're yellow. So everything you look at through these sunglasses is yellow. So they take of the fruit and they put on these yellow sunglasses. And now everything they see is through the lens of good and evil. Okay, it's the fruit of good and evil, the glasses of good and evil. And the first thing that they do is they look at each other, and through this tinted glasses, through this lens of good and evil, immediately they think, I'm naked, and they feel shame. Now that's not an inherent truth of the universe. In a completely like pared back, no nonsense, true sense, there's nothing wrong with nudity. But from the perspective of the glasses, there is. So when we come into this existence, all of us, little babies, we get little tinted sunglasses. And all of us have this issue of good and evil. We all have this knowledge as part of living in this fallen world. Something that's really great in our religion is this understanding that Eve took up this knowledge sort of intentionally, kind of from a place of clarity of like, yeah, I want to have children. And I'd like to add to that a little bit. It's not just to have children, it's also to have children in a fallen world. Meaning that this is not a mistake. Like the putting on of these glasses and the fact that all of us come in with the glasses is actually the point of Earth right now. Now when we get to that new Earth, when we get to that second coming world, that will not be the case for the new babies coming in, but it's definitely the case for us now, and it's really relevant for us now. So everything that we see from the time that we're little children everything is tainted by this perspective, including love. Just like when Adam and Eve looked at their naked bodies and felt ashamed with the glasses on, when we look at God with the glasses on, from this feeling, from this state of unworthiness, what we see love as is mercy. It's forgiveness. So we look at God and we see mercy and forgiveness. Now, is God in a state of mercy and forgiveness? No, absolutely not. God is in a state of love. But we see mercy and forgiveness when we look at him, because we feel unworthy, because we put on the glasses. So this idea of mercy robbing justice is a conflict that starts to happen when we start spending more time with God. When I first started perceiving God without this filter of mercy and justice, and usually it's just a glimpse, because the glasses take a while to come off, but when I started having these glimpses, I started really questioning the lower law, which is mercy and justice. And I started wondering why it was given to us. Now, it is a preparatory law, and it's absolutely meant to be moved on from, because it's not the true nature of things. And the more time I spent with God, the more confused I became, because it was like, this law is not a law at all. But there is wisdom in giving us this law. In psychology, when we want to get out of a belief system, when we want to get out of this box that we've built for ourselves in our head, the first thing we have to do is understand the box. We have to understand the thoughts that create the prison we've made for ourselves in our mind. I don't know if you've spent much time in counseling, but breaking out of these boxes is really, really enjoyable, because we expand and we're no longer trapped by them. There's this particular thing that tends to happen with unworthiness, and it's this. That concept is so contrary to our nature. Our inherent nature as souls, as children of God, is a state of innocence and love and joy. That's who we are. And so when we put on these glasses, it stings, and it stings bad, and it doesn't sit well with us. So every single human being ends up trying to prove the glasses wrong, and that's the trap. Rather than take the glasses off, we try to prove them wrong. And we can see this everywhere in the world today. Imagine somebody standing up on a hilltop or on the internet, or however you want to perceive it, and they're screaming to the world, I'm worthy, I'm worthy. And the truth is that while those words mean something, and they are inherently true, that person feels deeply, deeply unworthy, or they wouldn't be on the mountain screaming it. That is why we need this lower law. Because all of us, naturally or unnaturally, given that this is a bit unnatural, are trying to prove that we're worthy. So the first step is to see the system in the mind, to understand the mechanism. And that's what the lower law does. It very clearly states the rules of the glasses, and it begins to point to a way out. The way out in the lower law is mercy. It could also be said that the way out is simply to look at God or look at Christ. It's just that Christ viewed through the lower law is mercy. So we start out understanding the mechanism, and we start out understanding the way out. And that gets us to this place where we're forgiving more, where we're starting to love more, where we're starting to spend more time with God. And all of that is sort of starting to actually thin the glasses a little bit. They're starting to dissolve. And as they do, we start to question, did I even need to forgive that person? We forgive so often that we start having this compassion within us, this love within us that says, hold up. This person who just hurt me was born in a fallen world. They were given confusing advice, to say the least. They did their best, and they ended up thinking that the only way to get what they wanted was to hurt me. I've done that before. So forgiveness starts becoming super, super easy. And it really just turns into love. And you start recognizing that, wow, this person doesn't need my forgiveness, they need my love. So the culmination of this whole process, sort of the crowning jewel, is to take the glasses off, is to go from mercy and forgiveness to pure love. Now, this is a really confusing contradiction for people who are still in the throes of this lower law, or the throes of wearing the glasses. Their glasses are still really thick. That kind of describes the interactions between the Pharisees and Christ, where the Pharisees were very, very much wearing pretty thick glasses and dealing with this sense of, I need to be a good boy, and Christ was very much in this state where of perfection, of love, of light, where he was no longer worried about being a good boy, he was just concerned with loving. And it was very confusing to them. So there's, again, this contradiction that begins to happen, and it's because there actually is a contradiction, because when someone takes their glasses off, they're in an alternate zone. We say Christ was sinless, and it's because he was in a state of utter perfection. When you take the glasses off, there is only innocence, there is only love, period. There's no mercy, there's no forgiveness, there's only innocence and love. So how do we take the glasses off? Well, we just look at Christ, we just look at love, and we just keep looking at it. So what's the point? If it's that simple, why am I sharing this? Well, it's because we need to understand that there is this conflict inside of us, and that there's this conflict outside of us as well. There are people who still have their glasses on and they're real thick, and we need to have understanding for them and compassion for them. And we need to have understanding and compassion for ourselves when this programming comes up within us, even as it begins to dissolve. If you were to ask me, when is it appropriate to start living the higher law? The truth is you'll know when, because things will stop looking like mercy and justice and they'll start looking like love. And there are a lot of stages to that. And as you go, you get more and more glimpses of love and perfection. And at some point, the veil pops and the glasses come off. And again, you inherit this state of innocence, love, perfection, and it becomes the way that you perceive everything. And that's what we're all working towards. That's what we say when we say, once again, to have an eye single to the glory of God is once again to be in that state of innocence, to see things again as they really are, to not have this lens affecting everything that you see. So why? So again, back to Adam and Eve. Why did they put on the glasses? What was the wisdom of doing that? If it's not actually definitively true, why do it? And the answer is joy. Because these innocent, pure souls that you are want to experience joy. And there is nothing more joyful than the experience of love after having the glasses on. The act of taking the glasses off is utter ecstasy. To have spent so long, to feel what it's like to be so far from the presence of God, and then to return to it, tells us so much about ourselves and so much about love. It's like we're painting a portrait of God in the most glorious, fantastic way possible. We are the painters of love. This is so exciting. And this world is so interesting. These concepts are fascinating. To explore them, to understand ourselves in this way, and then see ourselves again as what we are, is utter joy. Be patient unto your deliverance, but steadfast when you're gazing upon love. And lighten up a little bit. I know it's hard, but it's also not real. The pain will pass, and you will again inherit your birthright, which is ultimate perfection. May God be with you.